Welcome, everybody, to the second All Hands podcast. I am your facilitator, Devin Rogers, and today we have two amazing guests with us. Gentlemen, Onyx Franciscini.
Hey, how's it going?
And Mr. Matt Mann.
Thank you. Thank you for calling us amazing.
Welcome, guys.
Absolutely.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Second episode, and we've already got a roundtable going on here.
Yeah, dude.
So, on the agenda today, how we're going to be starting these off. Every time, we've got a gaming resume to look at.
Okay.
So the way this is going to work, we're going to go over the cover letter, we're going to go over the game's actual resume, and in their resume, we're going to look at the talent behind the game. And based on the talent working on the game, we're going to decide, collectively or individually, whether or not we are going to must hire this game, potential hire, or if we're just going to pass on it.
Okay.
Makes
So,
sense.
you guys ready?
Go for it.
Super ready.
Dear All Hands team, it has been a very busy year for gaming, and I appreciate the opportunity to be considered for a position in this currently overcrowded market. My life began on Kickstarter, where at the time I was the fastest video game to reach the $1 million mark. I am the spiritual successor to a platformer that was heralded as the first worthy successor to Super Mario 64, the foundation upon which 3D platforming was built. These are lofty expectations to live up to, but I feel I am up to the task. Thank you for your consideration. Keep on strumming. Yooka-Laylee.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for that game. Really excited.
I feel kind of ashamed. I don't even know what the timetable is on its release right now.
Oh, I don't either, actually. When is it coming out?
So, Yooka-Laylee, it's funny you asked that. It releases on April 11th, 2017
Oh, come on.
for PC, Linux, Mac, PS4, and
Of course.
Xbox One.
Of course it does.
It will also be out later this year on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, so it switches later. It's not
Switch
the same
is
day.
later. There is
So it was a
no
delayed
confirmed
release.
date right now
Oh,
for when it
that
will be out,
stinks.
other
Okay.
than 2017.
All right, then.
So, Yooka-Laylee is being developed by a new company called Platonic Games.
Right.
And they are made up of a bunch of ex-Rare employees, Rare being the company that made Banjo-Kazooie, which is what Yooka-Laylee was referring to in its cover letter. It's being published by Team 17, who you guys may know from the Worms franchise.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually... I was just listening to another podcast the other day. They're the longest running indie studio in the world. Like, they've been open longer than any other indie studio.
Wow.
It makes sense. Worms, it's old.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember playing Worms, the original Worms, probably in middle school.
Yeah.
It's been a long
Yeah.
time.
We're not that old. It's okay.
All right, so Yooka-Laylee, as we've already discussed, it's a platformer. It's not just single player. They're going to have a co-op multiplayer mode.
Right.
So let's take a look at the talent behind the game. Now, of course, there are lots of people that work on these games. We're only picking out a few. And in the case of Yooka-Laylee, it was actually kind of hard trying to find information on some of these guys. So this may be a very interesting resume, but hey, if Yooka-Laylee, that's all they could pull together. That's all they could pull together. So it is being directed by Chris Sutherland. He's an ex-Rare employee.
Okay.
The last work that he did, according to research, he worked production for Kinect Sports Rivals
Which makes
on
sense.
the Xbox One.
Okay.
Did either of you guys play that game?
I did, actually. I had a friend who owned it. Not nearly as much as I played, like, Wii Sports, but I remember there was, like, a bowling game, and there's some cool stuff, and good demo of the tech and Kinect. So.
How would you rate Kinect Sports Rivals out of 10? Just off the cuff. What's your experience?
I'd give it like a 6.5, 7. It feels more, again, like it's a tech demo. I think it lacked some of the charm that Wii Sports had. You know, you look at that and it's like, oh, well, Nintendo's just showing off the hardware, but they also managed to make it something that has staying power. Like,
absolutely.
when I visit my family up in North Carolina, we play Wii Golf all the time.
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
fun.
how many years since that came out? Nobody's like, oh, let's boot up the Kinect and play
Right.
Kinect Sports. So Yeah, but it wasn't bad.
I finally disconnected, no pun intended,
Wow.
my Kinect yesterday. I was surprised it was still plugged in. Anyway, so that's for the original Xbox 360, not the Xbox One Kinect, just to be clear. Well, so on Metacritic, if we look at the critic scores and the user scores, they weren't too far off from what you just said, Matt. The critic score was 60, and the user score was 51.
Yeah.
Granted, this isn't a platformer. It's a completely different genre. There's basically a bunch of mini games.
Yeah.
But that was the last thing Chris Sutherland worked on. The producer is Andy Wilson. Now, I couldn't find the last game he worked on. He was the producer for Banjo-Tooie
Oh, okay.
and Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But I don't know what his last project was, so I don't have anything to work into a score there.
Okay. It might have been Bad Fur Day.
Might have been. Andy Robinson is the writer for the game. From what I've seen, he didn't have any previous writing experience on a game. He did a lot of journalism.
Okay. That's an interesting choice.
I don't know if this is his first outing as a writer for games, but there wasn't a whole lot of info on him. So, Andy, if you ever hear this, I apologize.
Maybe he's just a friend of one of the guys at Rare.
Right.
Hey, man, you can write, whatever.
So let's look at some of the artists. So Steve Males. Apologize, Steve. Malay. He is the character director. Character art director for Yooka-Laylee. He also last worked as an artist for Connect Sports Rivals.
Makes sense.
Some pedigree.
Yep. Stephen Hurst was the environment director. Believe it or not, there's not a lot of information out there about what he had worked on. I've got no clue. It said he had helped out with a lot of previous Rare games. I think he may have worked on Viva Pinata.
Oh. Wow, man, I always forget Rare did Viva
Yeah.
Pinata. Once they got acquired by Microsoft, that's one of the few good examples of Rare still being able to do what they do.
Absolutely. The sequel was great, too.
Yeah.
Trouble in Paradise. Yeah.
So I don't have anything we can use as a score for him, unfortunately. Grant Kirkhope is one of 3 composers providing music for Yooka-Laylee. He last worked on Ghostbusters. Now, I don't know how good the music was in that game.
I don't either.
But the game did not fare well at all.
I don't even know how much original music they had in that. Well,
Yeah.
you're basing it off of an 80s movie that used a bunch of pop. Yeah, I didn't play it.
It got panned by critics. It got a 33.
Oof.
And take this how you will, because it is the internet, but users gave it a 5
Wow.
out of 100.
That's pretty terrible.
Gamers are so cruel.
Yeah, right.
So, Grant, we know you've done some awesome
I was
stuff
going to say,
before.
yeah.
So, we're not going to completely hold that against
No,
you.
he's
There's
an amazing
many
composer.
things involved with why Ghostbusters did not turn out the way it could have.
Certainly he doesn't have control over the actual game, the quality of the gameplay, so...
That is true. But that's how we do things here. We do it hard, man. What the last game you worked on, whatever its score is, even if you only provided 5%, sucks to be you. Okay,
Yeah.
so the creative lead for Yooka-Laylee, and this is the last personnel we're going to look at. His name's Gavin Price. The last game he worked on was Connect Sports Rivals.
Well, there you go.
He was a
Man.
game
There's
designer.
that connection to Rare.
So, if we look at the average score, Connect Sports Rivals gets averaged in a few times because of how many people worked on it. The average score from critics is a 60, and the average score from users is a 51.
Okay.
Actually, I apologize. No, that's not right. The average critic score is a 53.3, and the average user score is a 39.5. So that's even worse.
Yeah, it's terrible. So I thought David Wise was making the music, or am I thinking of something else?
You might be thinking of something else,
Okay.
but I don't know.
Like David Wise, you've heard the name, right? David Wise.
Yeah.
X-Ray. He made the music for like Donkey Kong Country and recently Tropical Freeze and things like that.
Right.
I thought he was back, or maybe somebody else. Okay.
So we don't have any referrals this time. We're going based on the last games these guys did. Connect Sports Rivals. So what do you guys think? They've the employees involved with this, new and old, a lot of the X-Rare employees have made and been a part of some amazing games in gaming history. Rare, in their Nintendo days, they were legendary.
Definitely.
Not as legendary in the Microsoft age.
No. Certainly not.
Especially more recently. However, I believe Rare is working on Sea of Thieves.
Pirate game. Yeah, Sea of Thieves. Yeah.
Which looks really interesting, but in all fairness, we have no actual information on. So
nothing.
We don't. And, of course, everybody working on Yooka-Laylee is probably not working on Sea of Thieves. So,
no.
What do you guys think? Is this a must-play? Is this something that has potential, or do we pass on it for now?
Well, okay, so here's my thing with crowdfunded games, especially those that they're coming from someone who has past pedigree. There's been a really interesting pattern lately where just because you made good games does not mean that you're capable of making them now. So that can swing both ways, right? Like Mighty Number 9 would be the initial thing that comes to mind for me, which was a travesty. It was supposed to be this great, reimagining of Mega Man, and then it ends up being absolutely terrible.
It was boring.
Because when you give a creative mind no restrictions, sometimes these great minds, they can't produce things. There's something else that came out relatively recently that was in that vein too, and I'm blanking on it right now. But the guys from Rare, it's like you don't know which games they actually worked on. We don't have a good example of what their resume could be. So did these guys work all the way back on Conkers? Did they work on, Banjo-Kazooie, these games that are like genre defining? Who knows? But I almost think you just have to take it at the face value of what you think the game is going to be. I mean, and I know we're supposed to be looking at their resume specifically. Right. It's kind of hard at this point because, like, even with Kojima, you let Kojima go off the rails, and you don't know what you're going to get. You may not get like a perfect game. So, I personally am really excited for Yooka-Laylee because there's not a lot of games tapping into that market right now. And I hope that it's more inspired by, similar to like Shovel Knight, which is, I think, an outstanding genre example from guys that don't have a lot of history. So, I mean, for me, I still think it's a must-hire because I'm going to have to. Like, I feel like I'm obligated to pick it up, especially now that it's coming to Switch. But that's not really based off of the resume working on... what was it? Connect Sports?
What do you think, Onyx?
If going off of the resume alone, it's like an easy pass. Like, no, I don't want to. What is this, right? But because of we're talking about, they're X-Rare, and Rare made such good games. I want it. I want Yooka-Laylee, and it looks so much like Banjo. Like, it's got the little sound blurbs when they talk. It's genuinely a spiritual successor to Banjo. So just on that alone, it's like I want it. But based on their resume, it's hard to think I want to hire them.
What do you think, too? Like, Banjo-Tooie is not nearly as well received as Banjo-Kazooie, right?
It was still good, but the first one was like the landmark, and the second one, similar to Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Right.
Majora's Mask, in my opinion, is a much better game. But widely, to the masses, Ocarina is the better game because it was the first one to do that.
Right.
So I think it's kind of like that same ballpark, because Banjo-Tooie, I think it's technically a better game, but just not as well received.
Right. Well, you are comparing it to a game that some people think did what Mario 64 did better. So.
Right. Yeah.
What about you, Devin?
It's tough. Based on the resume, I would agree. Hey, we got to pass on this, but Connect Sports Rivals is not Yooka-Laylee.
No, definitely not.
But I'm also looking at it from the perspective of we have a game called Super Mario Odyssey coming later this year.
Yeah.
Which will probably outshine and outclass Yooka-Laylee. Not to mention the 2017 quality and amount of games just out there. Yooka-Laylee's really got to fight for some space.
Absolutely.
I think early on in the year, it's unique in that it's probably the leading platformer But once we get to the holidays, I think it's going to be forgotten in the case of when people start looking at Mario.
Well, I mean, yeah, but there's also, I mean, Mario, assuming it comes out, say, November, right? Because we don't have an official release date besides holiday 2017. But let's say November, I think November was when 3D World also came out.
Right.
You have 7 months in between that. So, like, it's got plenty of time to not only make the sales, but also establish a fan base. So maybe that'll help it, releasing so far apart from the other major platform of this year.
I mean, they've got a good window. Unfortunately for Rare, like, those guys suffered from typical big studio acquires you and then
do what we want,
needs to utilize you financially
and
not just let you walk away, but isn't having you work on a game that's in your pedigree. So they go, oh, well, we've got all these developers. What do we do with them?
Yep.
Hey, we need something to tech demo the Kinect. We got like all those guys from Rare sitting around doing nothing. Like, why would we let them work on a game that would actually be good? So you kind of hope. I mean, you don't forget, right? Like, you don't forget the things that made you good at developing what you developed, but there's no one big name in that list, which actually comforts me.
Right.
Like I said, it's kind of the opposite of like the Mighty Number 9 thing. I'm glad that there's not one person on that list that is the guy that made Conker's or the guy, it's oh no, it's just a bunch of guys who want to work on a game similar to what they love and inspired by. So, and it is a good release window. I mean, it's coming after all these really big, epic open world games. People might want to take a break, step back from, Horizon or Zelda or whatever else is out and just go, I just want to play a little platformer. It's got plenty of time before Mario Odyssey comes out. And it really comes, did they officially give us a release date on Switch? They just said later.
It's just 2017.
See, that's key too, because the Switch launch lineup, as launch lineups tend to be, is really, really weak.
Yeah.
So if they can fit in there kind of like 4 or 5 months down the road before all the really big stuff starts coming out, they could find that could be a great market for them, as opposed to just because the only other thing I can think of in that area is going to be Sonic
Mania.
right?
Yeah.
But Sonic Mania is also coming out on PC and I think PS4.
Yeah, it's coming out everywhere.
Like, I don't even think I'm getting that
But
on
it's also a
Switch.
2D platformer as opposed to a fully 3D.
Right.
So-
Collectathon type of game, yeah.
So what's our final call? What do you guys think? Must hire, potential hire, or are we passing? What would you guys each think?
I guess I'd have to go potential hire. I mean, I don't want to. It's probably one of those ones that it's going to come out, and I'm going to give it a day or two to see what people say initially.
Yeah,
and as long as it's like, a 75 or up, I'm going to be willing to give it a try. But
yeah, I agree. Potential hire. It's like the potential's there, but we just don't know. It could go either way. And with Kickstarter, like Matt mentioned, I mean, we could have Mighty Number 9, or we could have a Shovel Knight, or even Undertale for that matter.
So I'm gonna be a little harsh. I'm gonna say pass.
Okay.
Based on the resume, I
Right.
like you guys. I think once I see what the reviews look like, and based on everything else going on, I'll probably take a look at it at some point during the year. But Kinect Sports Rivals, Ghostbusters, I don't want to let my emotions based on what Rare has done in the past say this is how this game's going to be. It's very likely it will be a good, polished game at a minimum, but
hey,
it's gonna have good music.
Based on this, I gotta go pass for now.
Sometimes when you take a bunch of small pieces of poo and you mash them together, you get a great mighty poo. So.
Yeah, it's 10 days after Persona 5 too.
Oh,
yeah,
literally.
That's rough.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard.
So speaking of the number 10, let's move on. So let's do a peer review. Now, what a peer review is, this is not a final review of a game. This is just our in-process thoughts and impressions. Let's swing to the complete opposite side of the spectrum. Let's talk about a game that everybody agrees universally is a fantastic game.
Bum, bum, ba-da-da-da-dum.
The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. So, to kick off this part of the conversation, let me ask this question. Is this game a 10 out of 10?
It's a 10 out of 10 if... Oh, man. It's like... Obviously, reviews are subjective, so I want to say, 10 out of 10 based on your personal feelings, but to me, no. It's not a 10 out of 10. It is a very, very close. I mean, it's damn close. It is a 9.79. I mean, whatever. It's really close. But it's not a 10 just on a few things that I didn't personally like.
Well, okay, so 10 out of 10 feels symbolic to me because I don't believe in my lifetime or in any lifetime I've ever played a 10 out of a 10. By that, right, there's always something you can take out of a game. There's no such thing as a perfect game.
Agreed.
So to me, a 10 out of a 10 is this game. I couldn't really see anything significantly being better about it. It is a perfect representation of its genre, of its own gaming history. So I agree with you. I think we're on the same page in terms of like you saying there's a couple things that I would take away from it.
Right.
But to me, just the pure gaming joy that it's turned out to be makes it a 10 out of 10. And that's coming from someone who is not a Zelda fan. I never played Ocarina when it came out.
Wow.
You know, I had some Majora's Mask experience. I like Link to the Past a lot. I'm a 2D Zelda guy.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
But I'd probably say it's a 10 out of 10. So.
For the record, I do think that there are some 10 out of 10s. Like, I don't know if you've played Metroid Prime, the first one, but that is like, to me, that's a perfect game. It has, killer edge technology for the time. Great soundtrack, great level design, great story. Like, whenever I hear 10 out of 10, that is the first game that comes to mind. So, like, I do think there are. I don't know if you've played it yourself personally, or you're going to feel that.
Yeah, I have. Man, I guess, it's a 10 out of 10. So it's, what did you set out to design? Did you design it perfectly?
Yeah.
Which is so hard when you're doing something like Zelda, this current one, when it's an open world. So the more targeted you are. I think Naughty Dog has some examples of games that I would put close to 10 out of 10.
Right.
You know?
Uncharted 2.
Yeah, Uncharted 2 would be close. I mean, Last of Us might begin to approach that. You're making me question myself now. I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna say 10 out of 10, and I think I know the things that you're gonna say are gonna make it not a 10. But
well, let's dig into that. So, there's a lot of 10 out of 10 games out there that aren't perfect.
Right.
If we're trying to figure out if Zelda's a 10 out of 10, what are some of the things in Zelda that you guys have problems with, and are those enough to reduce it down from being a full 10
in Breath of the Wild?
In Breath of the Wild.
First, for me, it's Zelda has always been a very story-driven game, and there's clearly story here, but it's optional, right? The memories, for example, without spoiling anything, they're optional memories, and the bulk of Zelda's character development and possibly some of the and I say possibly because I haven't finished the game yet, I haven't seen all the memories, but some of the champions, some of that development could be in those memories, and for them to be optional, it's kind of like, well, it's cool that you can just take your time, see it whenever you want, but at the same time, I like Zelda for the stories it told. Majora's Mask is a very story-driven game with a very almost depressing story. So for it to push all that for these many years, and then all of a sudden to say, well, you can kind of get it if you want, but you have to put work into it.
And it's not just optional. You can do it in any order you want.
Right.
So the chronology of the story it's trying to tell, you could see the ending at first,
right,
and then a middle piece second, and then the beginning third, and then completely out of order for the rest of the stuff, if you even find them all.
Right. Which could work for some series, though. Like, it kind of has... It's almost like an episodic thing, because think about it, a little off topic, but think about like an anime like Cowboy Bebop. Very episodic. A basic premise, and then episode 5 you get hit with tons of backstory for the main character. And you don't get any backstory for another 10 episodes. So it could work, but I think because we have that established idea, or at least I have that established like love for the linearity, surprisingly, of Zelda storytelling, that it kind of hampered it, in my opinion.
This is something that open world games struggle with in general, though.
Yes.
And I'm racking my brain trying to think of open world games that tell outstanding stories, because I think developers are struggling right now as Sandbox becomes a standard to give you an open world to play in with no restrictions and no constructs as to what you should be going, what you should be doing, but then also telling a story within that. Like, they can't bottleneck you at the right points and then open it back up. So, Horizon has kind of struggled with that. I think BioWare and Bethesda have struggled with that in the past, these great open world storytellers. So I agree, but who has done it any better than Zelda is my question.
This may be an unpopular opinion, but the first game that comes to mind where I thought they did it well was Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. So you've got all these different islands that you can go to. It kind of gates you based on how strong your ship is and determining where you can go. So it's not like Zelda where you can just out the gate go anywhere. Yeah. It does gate you, but there is enough there that you can be doing the linear story and then say, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to go sail around and explore for a while. And you can do that. And then at some point you go back to the story and it's still linear enough to where the narrative is flowing properly, but it still gives you that freedom to just sidetrack and go off and do something else. It's not a perfect game.
No.
It is not the epitome of how open world games should be, but from a story perspective, I think it did it pretty well.
I think mechanically you're right, although I think saying that there's a narrative in an Assassin's Creed game is a pretty generous statement. Like, I played that game a lot. I remember that story, and it's very...
It's one of the weaker ones.
Yeah, so, but I mean, you're right in terms of, and I think that helps them mechanically when they don't have this crazy, like they don't have a BioWare story, right, to tell here. They don't have, and I mean, it's not, Zelda stories, let's be honest, are not incredibly complicated. It tends to be the same archetype, but, so yeah, I don't know if I would take points off from it. I mean, I can see why you might say, oh yeah, maybe 0.2 or 0.5 away from that. I think the optional nature of the memories would be the one thing that I would take away from that. Yeah, that the fact that I appreciate it because speedrunners are beating this game in under an hour because you can just go straight to the final boss. I think that freedom is really interesting.
Absolutely.
And that's always going to be at odds with telling a story. Like, do you give the players the freedom? Do you make them experience the narrative, the plot line that you've laid out? So I would have preferred that there was some incentive at least. Maybe we had a halfway where it was like, well, you don't have to go get these, but beyond just your own curiosity, there's a reason for this, you know? Because everything has a reason in that game. The memories have pretty much no reason whatsoever.
Right.
Like, they don't give you an incentive to go pick them up. They're not like, well, if you get all of them, you get this thing. At least not to my knowledge. I've only got 2 of them.
Right.
But aside from just, I kind of want to see cutscenes. So, yeah, I would agree.
But it's funny, too, though, because even though I'm complaining about that aspect of it, it also is one of the things that it does great compared to other open world games. Because other games in the same vein will tell you, oh man, there's this really crazy, you have to do this mission now, like in terms of story, right? It's like, you don't have a lot of time, you got to get to this now, this objective is very important. But then the cutscene ends and then you can explore for 10 hours and it's like, grandma's dying, go help her. No, I'm going to go collect 10 other things first, you know? So Zelda does that well, but at the cost of the story.
Right.
Is there anything other than the story that you would have? Because we've been talking about story this whole time.
Right.
Are there any issues with gameplay or visuals or?
I know one that people would bring up that does not bother me, but I can see why it would take away from people's score. The weapon durability system.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
which in no way has bothered me. I think initially when you first start playing the game, it can be kind of frustrating, but I think they did a good job working it into the game, specifically like knowing exactly how long a weapon was going to last and how big your inventory could be and how many weapons you were going to come across. I have never gotten close to not having a weapon in my side, right?
Right.
So in the end, it just becomes, oh, I really like this weapon. I hate that it's going to break. I can understand that that's frustrating, but I have 15 other weapons in my inventory to use. In fact, I'm dropping weapons because I'm constantly picking them up, so people don't like mechanics that take things away from them in games. They like to hoard things, especially in a game that's got that RPG nature. Yeah. And this is the first Zelda that lets you have multiple armor sets and lets you kind of build your character up. So it seems counterintuitive to go, oh, well, we're going to give you weapons, but they're going to break all the time. And you do get the legendary weapons. They work a little bit differently. You're not going to lose them. Like, the Master Sword isn't going to break, and that's it. Like, oh, I hit someone 10 times with it, and that's it. The Master Sword's
That'd be
gone.
Terrible.
So that doesn't bother me. I don't know if it would take away from a perfect score for you guys, though.
Well, do you guys think that... do you think it's an issue with people not being used to games that have resource management? Like, people that play a game like Resident Evil are used to having to be careful of how much ammo they have before they go sit out and start destroying stuff. Because this is kind of a mild version of resource management when it comes to weapons.
Yeah, but that's the design of Resident Evil. Like, it's survival horror. This is not... Obviously, it's not that. And to me, it takes away from the allure of like you go through this shrine, you do this puzzle, you get this what seemingly seems to be a very cool weapon that's like ancient, things like that, whatever the case may be. But then for it to be so weak, I mean, it's like a glass sword. These things are like forged. Not only does it take away from the immersion, these things are like, it's a steel sword that's been passed down in the royal like Hyrule Guard, and then after 20 swings it breaks. It's like, come on, like that. And not only that, but it also does pause the combat. Like in the middle of it, it breaks. You gotta hit the right D-pad, which is it's a minor nitpick. It pauses the action, but it does take away slightly from the immersion of it.
Right. Well, so what does it add to the game and what does it take away from the game? I think why it frustrates people is because there's no answer to it.
Right.
I think restrictions on gameplay are one of the best things in the world. Like, people think that having complete freedom is the best thing you can do for a game. No. Imposing a limit on yourself as a designer generally leads to the best gameplay experiences we have, because then you have to operate within that limit.
Right.
So then you operate within, you apply that to the game, the gamer. What limits can we apply to them to make this not as easy an experience? There's lots of that stuff in Zelda, like the temperature system.
Right.
I walked in the snow, I'm shivering, I'm about to die. But there's an answer to that. I go get a piece of gear, it warms me up, I eat this thing that keeps me warm, and it puts me on a timer so I have less time to get through this area. Those are good design tenets. I think what frustrates people is that there is no answer to the breaking weapons. Every weapon I get that is not a legendary weapon is going to shatter. My time with it's going to be limited. Okay, what does that add to the gameplay? So the positives are it makes you experience a lot of different weapon types, right, I guess, and it makes you think strategically about what weapons you're taking into a fight. But if you're fighting one of the mini-bosses, you're likely going to go through 4 or 5 weapons.
This could spin into a whole other conversation, and I don't want it to, but a lot of what you just described are the same mechanics in No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
I can see why you would say that.
Yeah, no, it's reminiscent for sure. I think there's just more frustration to take away from the breaking weapons for a lot of people than there is like positive, constructive gameplay. So that's probably why it bothers them. And I am ever the optimist when it comes to games and movies. Like, if it's bad, it's bad. I'm fine with that.
Sure.
But if it's partially good, partially bad, and I understand the design behind it, I'm usually willing to just let it go. So, right. I mean, that system will itch at my brain a little bit sometimes when I'm like, oh, I just broke 5 really nice plus weapons. Yeah. But in the end, I'm like, whatever, because I'm just going to pick up another 5. Yeah. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I could see it subtracting from the 10.
And don't get me wrong, I feel like it's slightly nitpicky because I just enjoy so much more that it does. Like you were mentioning, for example, the going into the cold weather and using these other things to like keep you warm. You can do that with a fire weapon. If you take out a fire weapon, it'll keep you a little warmer. Like your temperature gauge does.
See, I didn't even know that. That's ridiculous.
And if there's like ice blocks and you just stand by with your fire weapon taken out, it'll melt it. The game, what it does negatively is like it pales in comparison to what it does positively. It does so many amazing things with its engine and its physics, and it's
right.
That's why. If
we're going to talk about the 10 out of 10, I'm going to say for every one thing that game could have done better, it did 999 things almost perfect. So that's why I'm like, just go ahead and give it the 10. Like it's, and then there's the nostalgia factor. When's the last time we got a really great Zelda game? Because let's be honest, like Twilight Princess got great reviews. I don't remember what the numbers were, but that wasn't a great game. It was just an Ocarina of Time rehash on Wii with motion controls. And even it wasn't a bad game, but Skyward Sword, there's like all of them are decent games, but you're talking about the legacy of a franchise that has what many people consider to be the greatest game ever made in Ocarina of Time because it redefined gaming. So we get that little boost where it's like, oh man, we have not had a Zelda like this
since
in
Ocarina of
ages.
Since 1998.
And another point I've seen that's been really fantastic is it's the perfect game for non-gamers.
Right. Anybody can just pick it up and go.
People are talking about like they let their wives play it who never play video games and they sink 10 hours into it immediately. Like that's a true achievement to me, to create a mechanical system on a game where someone's never picked up a gamepad before or hasn't done it since they were a kid, and they're in and that's it, and they're not confused by anything and they're just enjoying the experience. It almost transcends its own genre. So
Well, we got to move on. We got some other stuff we got to do, but we will do a official exit interview
Okay.
for the Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild here.
Sounds good.
Do we have to finish
future.
it to do that? Oh god.
Probably a good idea.
I gotta get on. Let's see. Well, I'm 40 hours in, and I've probably got half of the
Oh
content.
god, yeah. What a great
So
game.
you can look forward to that in the near future. You will find out if we did, in fact, agree or disagree, if it was a 10 out of 10. But right now, let's play a game.
Okay.
We got a game here. It's called The First Day Back from Vacation. So as anybody who takes vacation from work knows, first day back, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff you missed. So what we're going to do is we're going to help this person out.
Okay.
I've got a list of 13 games here, all released in 2017 so far, or will be released here shortly, coming up in April. And it is our duty to prioritize these games so that this person coming back from their 3-month vacation
Oh no.
knows where they need to start.
3 months. I want to work there.
This bit might not have worked in any other year, but this year it's gonna
Right.
be the hardest thing I've ever done.
Seriously.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go around the table. We're going to take turns crossing stuff off the list. Basically, the first game that comes off the list is going to be the game to play last.
Okay.
And the last game remaining is going to be the game they need to play first.
And brush ranking.
Now, here's a little extra thing to go with this. We each have the power to veto one person's choice. So if I step in and say, yeah, you really don't need to play The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, take that off the list first,
Yeah.
you guys can veto that
Absolutely.
decision, and it will stay on the list.
Because they have to play Zelda.
Because they have to.
Like, they have to.
If it doesn't make the top 3, I would be very
I
surprised.
wonder what's gonna win.
Right?
So if it gets vetoed, it stays on the list, but anybody else, it can be voted off the very next turn if somebody wanted to. Now, vetoes stop working when there are 4 games left on the list. So if you've not used your veto by the time there are 4 games left, it's gone.
Okay.
So there's 13 games here. We should each be able to cross at least 4 games off the list, depending on how many vetoes there are. Who would like to go first?
I'll go, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here is our list in alphabetical order.
Because why not?
For Honor, Gravity Rush 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue,
Divided by 2.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mass Effect Andromeda, Nier Automata, Neo, Persona 5, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, Tales of Berseria, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Yakuza 0.
Oh, this is gonna be so hard.
What a
So-
great... I just got to say,
It's ridiculous.
listening to that list, like, what a great quarter this has been.
This is a legendary time in gaming.
Like, I was... 2007, Reborn.
It's
10 years
it's
later.
insane.
Such a good list.
We're spoiled.
So, this first round should be semi-easy. I think there's a few
Yeah.
toss-ups in here that we can get rid of pretty quickly.
I feel like I've already played half this list.
Yeah, that's a great thing, too. I've played a lot of games.
So-
I'm going to go with Tales of Berseria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured that'd be one of the first ones off.
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
I've only played Tales of... Oh, God, was it Symphonia or Tales of... The one that was on the GameCube.
That was Symphonia.
That's Symphonia?
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I never really got too far into it, and I've just not touched any other. And even then, I read some reviews for this, and I've heard kind of lukewarm reception. So it doesn't seem like it's on my priority, to play.
I don't think anybody's going to
Disagree.
veto that
veto
decision.
that.
It's my favorite series ever. Veto now. This is gonna get hard really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's already not. My next one is gonna be Gravity Rush 2.
Oh no!
And then here's the thing: is Gravity Rush is really fun, but I've read a lot of reviews on 2, and I seriously considered picking it up. And from what I've seen, just not. based off the pedigree of this list,
Right, because the list is...
I think because of where it sits on this list, it's got to go pretty early. And there's a couple games that I could take off, but I think that
yeah,
one's
I'm not
pretty easy to let
vetoing it,
go.
though.
Yeah.
That's a good... a tough, good second.
I didn't think that would be... That was not one of the toss-ups.
I mean, I don't know how aware you guys are of like how it's been doing and how the reviews are.
It's
so.
been good.
I think it's been getting 8s and 9s.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the best reviewed game this year.
Yeah.
but
It's a
people
good
who are
game.
into it are into it.
Just for this list, like this list is impossible.
Oh, jeez. Okay. I'm going to take off For Honor. I think it had really good potential, but it sounds like, and I have not played it, but it sounds like Ubisoft kind of messed up with some of the transactions and the microtransactions.
I don't believe they're pay to win, though.
No,
It's not pay to win. I think it's cosmetic.
the in-game currency. The economy is a bit odd. So like when you want to buy victory poses, like they can cost a lot, like take forever to get
grind,
them.
yeah.
So yeah, it can be a little grindy. It is an outstanding game. The mechanics are phenomenal.
Right.
The biggest issue it had was that it was the network issues on launch.
Right.
But I would highly recommend that anyone play it at some point. But it'll be the 11th game you get to when you get back from vacation.
I've heard it compared to a fighting game.
It
Like,
is,
and it's
yeah,
kind of crazy,
but it's more accessible than a fighting game.
Right, but it has a depth, right? Like it has a potential
Yeah.
to be really deep, and that to me is kind of cool.
I think as multiplayer experiences go, it's one of the better things I've played in the last 5 years. So
Wow.
We should note that in any other year, like in a empty summer, any of these games would be a top game to play.
Yeah, think about when Dragon Age Inquisition won Game of the Year, 2 years ago? Like, most of these would probably go on the list above it.
2013 was rough.
Yeah.
All right, round 1 down.
Okay, round 2. Should we list off the who's left?
Sure. So we've got Horizon Zero Dawn, Kingdom Hearts' really long name, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is the Wii U port for the Switch, Mass Effect Andromeda, Nier Automata, Neo, Persona 5, Resident Evil 7, Breath of the Wild, Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Yakuza 0.
Okay, so this one to me is easy. You guys might disagree, but Mass Effect Andromeda.
No, I got a veto.
Oh,
That's my veto.
Wow.
I mean, as someone who in the last 3 days has sunk about 18 hours into it and is Mass Effect is a top 3 all-time franchise for, I cannot let you take it off that early.
Ooh.
Okay.
That's my veto.
Well,
it's
there
got to
you
be
go.
higher. She has to make the top 4.
Well, there you go. I can't say anything about it.
Can't say anything about that.
So when he vetoes, do I
We're
take a
just
different choice or
no,
does-
we just keep going.
skip my turn pretty much, right?
Yep.
So it goes to Matt Man.
Okay. You guys you're only vetoing it because you haven't played it yet. Okay. It's not all as bad as people say it is.
I'm gonna laugh. I have to veto this one. I have a feeling I might have to veto this next one. We'll see.
It's between 2, and I don't know the vibe at this table well enough to know. I'm probably gonna go Kingdom Hearts. My reasoning being that this Kingdom Hearts gives you a small chunk prologue for Kingdom Hearts 3, which to some people, it's like ground zeros for Metal Gear,
Right.
or whatever. It's people will play that 2 hours over and over and over
Right,
again because
right.
Kingdom Hearts is their jam. But I feel like it's mostly a rehash of games you could get on other platforms.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it came with Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 fully remastered, this would make a top 4 on this list.
Which is
but-
coming out, but in a separate collection.
Yeah, exactly.
because Square
So
Enix
I have to let Kingdom Hearts, the long name, the third part,
Yeah.
the 5th time they've done the long name,
Divided
go.
by 2.
I think that's fair.
That's absolutely. I'm not vetoing that.
Definitely fair. By the way, the Kingdom Hearts 1.5, 2.5 collection I heard has got some technical issues.
Yes, freezing and stuff and stuttering on PS4.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
unfortunate.
shame. Yeah.
It actually sort of bittersweet. Maybe I'm just too wishful thinking, but I'm hoping that they rushed that out the door, which is why it has technical issues. Why would they rush it out the door? Fingers crossed. E3, we get a Kingdom Hearts 3 2017 release date. I would go bananas.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know with them. They wait so long to
they-
give you official release
That's
date.
They
true.
do. They announced it in 2013.
Yeah, with PS4.
It's
Well,
been 4 years.
Aren't we supposed to be getting Final Fantasy VII Episode 1 this year?
Well,
Wasn't that
Well,
supposedly...
no, it's the 20th anniversary of 7 this year.
They were there was a lot of thought that we might get the first episode of the 7 remaster.
that'd be crazy.
Remake.
maybe we'll get a demo of it with Kingdom Hearts 3.
Maybe.
That-
I was
Holiday
going to say,
2017.
my point being, 3 has to beat the first episode of 7
It
out.
has
And
to.
they're already showing
Yeah.
screenshots from,
7R,
like
yeah.
the Scorpion Tank fight.
I saw
7
that,
remake. And
yeah.
so, anyway, not to derail us.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, this is getting tough.
yeah.
I think I know the next one that needs to go.
I-
Don't touch Mass Effect.
I really want to touch Mass
and
Effect.
hey, you do
but
what you
I'm-
think is best.
I'm gonna be nice.
How many vetoes do we have again? I'm sorry.
Each of us has
Each
one.
of us has one.
So he uses veto. Yeah.
Right.
He's used his
I'm not
veto.
gonna-
But you can't renominate it the next time around.
Right, I won't.
Sure he
No.
can.
He's got it.
Oh,
no,
I-
we come on, man. You got to let somebody else do the nominating. That way you don't get.
Are
have
you
to have
sure that's
majority
the rule
rules.
you want?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, if that's the rule you want, and I'm the only one who can vote it off, then I gotta vote off Mass Effect Andromeda.
That's fine. That's
It's
fine.
gotta go.
That's fair.
It's a game I really want to play. You're gonna find out some really funny stuff at the very end of this podcast related to it. But we'll leave that alone for now.
That's okay.
Yeah,
it made
it's-
top 8. I can live with
Yeah,
that.
that makes sense. So that rule of like not me voting for it
Although
again.
I would have taken Yakuza first, but
And yeah. Anyway, and okay, so
And I should just say that the issues that it's had with animations, I know there's a lot of controversy going
Right.
on with that right now. I don't know how prevalent that is in the game, but from what I've seen, it can get a little goofy. I still think there's a quality game under there somewhere, and I can't wait to play it. But with all this other stuff, it's just not that high on the list. for me.
rumors of BioWare's demise are greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
People just like to meme it up on the internet. It's not nearly what people have made it out to be.
Okay, so now it's where it gets tough, and I'm gonna just take this one off the list only because I just don't want Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, wow.
Onyx.
I listen.
You're-
Horizon Zero Dawn has gotten great reviews. It looks amazing. It apparently has a great open world, but I also have Zelda. I also want to play Nier Automata, which is also open world, and that has Yoko Taro storytelling.
You're wrong. but-
Onyx, I hate to pick on you.
Are you vetoing
I have
Zero Dawn?
not played Horizon, but there is another game on here that clearly needs to go before Horizon.
Yeah.
So I got a veto.
Yeah.
No way.
We're keeping Horizon.
You're
on
keeping
this
Horizon.
list.
Ah,
It has
you
to
vetoed
stay.
twice. Fine.
You're picking great open world. You're picking 80-hour games, 200-hour games. You know they just released a patch that fixes Horizon Zero Dawn issues that only happen after you've been playing the game for 200 hours.
That's silly.
No joke.
That is
Wow.
crazy. Okay, well, there.
I agree with your Mass Effect vote, by the way. I would have voted that off at the same time as well. So, but the good news is you're not going to get vetoed anymore.
Yay!
You have all the power now.
So I'm curious now as to what Devin's. There's a game that has to go before. I know for sure it's not Persona. For sure it's not like Legend of Zelda. I'm trying to see. I don't know whether you guys are big like Yakuza fans, and I know like most big Japanese gamers love Yakuza. I mean, I'm probably gonna go Mario Kart. I think Mario Kart's probably what he was thinking, and that's what I'm thinking, because it is a great game, but it's in that For Honor zone where I could play it for eternity. Do I really need to play it right after I get back from my 3-month vacation? It's there. It's not going anywhere.
It's great for Switch owners that didn't
Yeah.
have a Wii U,
Yeah.
but it is a game that
Yeah.
you could have gotten last year.
Yeah, how long has it been out? It's been a year
It
and a
came
half.
out in 2015.
I was going to say it's been like 2 years now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think...
Yeah, I'm not gonna veto that. I mean, I freaking love Mario Kart 8, and I'm going to buy it. I bought the original, bought the DLC, gonna buy this again. But no,
It should have come off before Mass Effect.
absolutely.
Just saying.
It should have been released week, but that's okay.
And it should have come off before Horizon, which is
I
it will.
absolutely agree.
So that was the game that definitely needed to come off.
Oh no!
Okay,
now all the power's in his hands.
now this is just holy magoli. This is intense. Oh boy!
Wait, where are we at right now? Top what?
So we have 7 games left on the list: Horizon Zero Dawn, Nier Automata, Neo, Persona 5, Resident Evil 7, the Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Yakuza 0.
I'm impressed Resident Evil's made it this far. Have either of you played it?
I have not.
No.
See,
I love the demo.
I bought it like the day of and beat it like in that one weekend. So
I'm struggling between two games right now. Neither of them I've played.
So that's great.
One
to know,
of them I know is going to get vetoed.
Oh yeah.
So you know what? I'm going to do the easy veto one.
Yeah.
I'm just going to kick it down the road because I don't know. I'm going to pick Yakuza 0.
Nah, that's definitely getting a
There
veto.
you go.
yeah, okay. I had a feeling we had a Yakuza lover here, so
Yeah.
I would have taken it off really early.
New lover, mind you. I just got into the Yakuza series, and I'm like, why didn't I get into this series before? It is so good. So good. But yeah, it's a topic for another
Have you
day.
ever listened to the Bitsocket guys? It's two.
No.
They're two Scottish guys that do a game podcast, and they're unabashed Japanese gamer fans.
Nice.
Like they talk about Metal Gear and Yakuza more than anything I've ever heard, and they adore that game. And I'm like, is it really?
It really is.
Really? Is it like that? I have to try it at some point.
It's crazy because it's and again we'll go back to this. It's a very serious game. Yakuza Mafia, murder mystery, all this stuff. But then you have the wackiest side quest, and it somehow manages to blend it all so well. When it comes together, it's like, wow, I just didn't expect it to be that good. But
And it's a good jumping in point too for people
Yeah.
new to the series because it's essentially the
It's a
prologue to everything.
to everything, yeah.
So
Yeah. But yeah, okay, so I get the hard. Yeah, you know what? Nah, this won't be that hard, honestly, in my opinion. I think I'm gonna get rid of Resident Evil 7. Yeah.
That's a good spot for it, I think. I did very much enjoy it. I am not happy with how they're monetizing the DLC release.
they're
Nice.
Well, just considering the length of the base game and how many DLC packages are coming out, it's a little frustrating to me. It feels like it could have used a little more content, and they're kind of raking us over the coals because they know they made a good product and they can
Right.
afford to charge us for it. And I have not played any of the DLC because of that. I'm waiting. So the only game on this, okay, Persona 5 and Yakuza are two games that I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to. Neo is oh man. I think it's still hard to get your hands on Neo right now because it's like so popular. I think Nier Automata has to come off.
Oh,
I really, really want to play it. I never played the first one. I've been watching so many people play the second one, and I've heard that it's a huge step up in terms of new direction. And it is unique on this list, but I can't in good conscience pull off anything else.
right.
So
No, that makes
Wow.
sense. I mean, yeah. Surprisingly how a niche Japanese game is so high on the list, huh?
well, yeah, that's the way it goes, though. It's like, I mean, at one point, Miyazaki games were niche Japanese games,
Right.
and now they may be considered the greatest gaming series of all time.
Yeah, definitely.
So for the record, we are now down to 5 games. We each get one more choice. Onyx, you got vetoed twice. You get the last decision at the very end.
Nice.
We have 5 games: Horizon, Neo, Persona, Zelda, and Yakuza. What a ridiculous list! For all intents and purposes, within 90 days of each other.
Also,
Insane.
3 of those games end with A's that sound like U's. Zelda, Yakuza, Persona.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh boy. I mean, I could troll here, but I'm not.
We got to keep an American game on the top. We got to get an American game into the top 4, and there's only, well, it's not even technically an American
I was
game.
gonna say, like, yeah, no, Horizon is not.
Are they a French developer?
Gorilla.
Gorillas
They're
in
European
France.
though.
They're European.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
what
that.
I know.
But still, it's the one non-Japanese game on here.
Who said the Japanese gaming industry was dying?
We got Zelda that's getting rave reviews. We've got Persona 5, which is not out yet, but it's also got a large following, having already been released in Japan. Neo is my bloodborne baby. I can't. And I gotta go with Yakuza again.
Wait, no.
Can I go with
can't.
Yakuza?
You can't.
You voted
We
Yakuza originally.
we gave that. You
Oh,
gave,
this is really
Ah, there you
hard.
go. It makes it harder for you.
That's not fair. That is not fair at all.
Got to make the cut, man.
Oh,
you know what has to
jeez.
go.
You guys are
know.
gonna hate me if you won't let me do Yakuza.
Oh, I know what he's.
I know what he's about to do. It has to make the top 4.
And I can't veto it either.
No, go ahead. The power's in your hands.
Yeah, man.
We never said
Persona
this game was
5,
fair.
I really feel will be a 10 out of 10. Neo, haven't played it. I really think that could be a 10 out of 10. You know what? I'm going to go with Horizon. I got it. Sorry, Horizon. I'm still concerned that you're not going to be everything people are starting to say you are. I see more potential in other games I haven't played. For the record, of all the rest of the games on here, I've only played Zelda. So
I did play Horizon for about 10 to 15 hours right before Zelda came out, so I knew that the direct comparison was going to be fresh in my head, and I have to say I still find Horizon very compelling, and a lot of the same ways that Zelda's compelling, which is interesting.
That's good.
Coming from Guerrilla, who has never done anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. They've only done Killzone. Yeah. This is like easy for me, but
I know he's about to break your heart. He's about to break our heart.
I think so too. Neo.
Yeah, he's taking Neo off.
Neo.
I knew it was coming.
I want to play the game, but looking at this list, it's like, no. You know? Maybe I'm just... I don't know. Dark Souls 3 was a great game, but...
Well, and I mean... Neo's getting almost too much comparison to the Souls games, I think, and I have heard that it is very unique, very different from the Miyazaki games, but that's the closest thing people can think of to compare it to, so...
Right.
I just realized I did my math wrong. It looks like I get the final decision.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm taking Yakuza off. I have equal experience with Yakuza and Persona, and of the two, Persona is the one that I hear is competing for 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Yakuza, though not doing it, is still... Yeah. That's okay. I agree with this.
With Devin making the final choice, I think there's a possibility that Persona wins, though.
Wow, this is... Jeez. So...
The thing is, though, Persona... We're going off of Persona off of just promise.
What have you played versus not played?
Because Zelda, you have it. You've played it. You've beaten it. Whereas Persona, you have not touched that. So, yes, it could be a 10 out of 10, but...
Well, also, for the like we said earlier, for the non-gamers, like... I'm not going to hand Persona to my wife or to somebody who likes board games or watches a lot of sports and doesn't play any video games and go, hey, you're going to love this game. But I might hand them Zelda and be like, you're going to love this game.
Right. Persona it's still a niche game if you really think about it. It's very anime-centric, which that on its own puts it in a niche. It's from Alice, it's an RPG, turn-based. But regardless, it's obviously this is all subjective, so yeah.
This is a tough decision. I think Persona 5 has it from the trailers I've seen, it just oozes style.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The music, the visuals, the idea with the plot, them all being thieves, and it just has more of a darker feel to it than Persona 4 Golden. For me personally, it just sounds so good, and from some of the previews that I've read, the dungeons are really well crafted this time around.
No more random dungeons.
There's a lot less filler, if you will, in the day-to-day social aspects of the game,
which are great.
Like they pretty much just jump right in, allegedly. But then you've got Zelda, which there's one, I think the plot is the only gripe I really have with that game. At least the pace at which it gives you that plot, like you were saying earlier.
Right.
Story is a big deal for me.
Right.
I would argue that story, regardless of gameplay, story is the number one driving factor for me when deciding to play a game. Gameplay is obviously a close second. You're not going to play a game that you're not going to have fun playing. But the story is what drives me forward. So on that alone, I think I got to cross Zelda off the list. I know that's probably a very unpopular opinion, but at the same time, when we get to the end of the year and we're talking what are the top 5 Game of the Year contenders, Persona 5 is on that list.
Yeah.
I know people out the gate are saying Zelda's going to win, and it has a very high probability of doing so, but Persona 5 is going to be right there. Personal opinion.
Probably.
So there we have it. Persona 5. You better not disappoint.
Yeah.
What a list, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We didn't even actually rank that list. So what? Basically, the list, if I can remember the order, then is from 1 to 13, the games you would play when you came back from vacation would be Persona 5, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild.
Yakuza.
Was it Yakuza or Neo?
Yakuza.
Yakuza.
Neo, yeah. Then
Neo.
Horizon.
Nier Automata.
Resident
Evil 7. Mario Kart. Mass Effect. Kingdom Hearts.
Mm-hmm.
Gravity Rush 2, Tales of Berseria, and then For Honor. I believe that was the order we went in.
I think For Honor came off.
Yeah.
Or was For Honor?
For Honor came off third, actually.
Was it? For Honor, Gravity Rush 2, then Tales of Berseria.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So those last three. So
what a list! What a crazy list! And anybody listening, if there's a game you've played this year and you're like, why the heck isn't Ghost Recon Wildlands on this list? Hey. There's just so many games.
Which I've heard is good, but Ubisoft.
Yeah, it's Ubisoft.
Also this year. Oh man, I honestly, any other year, Horizon Zero Dawn, hands down, is already like. I'm telling you right now, Mass Effect is too controversial to be competing for Game of the Year, and I think similar to Inquisition, if it had come out on a weaker year, it actually would have a good chance at it. But the expectations were so high. Horizon would absolutely be competing for Game of the Year and probably will be on that list of nominations. But I don't think that there's a good chance that it wins.
We still have Red Dead 2.
Oh my God.
We still have Mario.
Red Dead will probably fall into next year's Game of the Year category, though.
You think it will come out this year?
I think it's going to be really... Well, no, I think it will come out this year, but I think it's going to be like December.
If it's December, then it wouldn't be on the list.
Right. I think it'll be incredibly late.
It will be on the list, potentially, for us.
They said 2017.
Anything 2017 will be on our list.
We'll find out in a couple months. I'm sure they're going to show it at E3.
Final Fantasy 15 wasn't part of the Game Awards. The Last Guardian wasn't part of the Game Awards.
Yeah, well, so shouldn't FF15 go on this year's list?
I'm not sure how that works, to be honest.
I think they roll them over if they're late enough in the year.
It would be weird, though, because it's...
Yeah.
I still don't think it's Game of the Year contender, in my opinion. But
no.
In comparison to these games from quarter one, not even close.
Yeah, well, where does 15 come off on this list? I think it's pretty low on the list.
That's another discussion for another time.
Yeah, I don't think it cracks top 8.
No,
not even close.
Debatable. We'll see.
You may have liked 15 more than some of us did.
So we're running out of time. I think we're gonna have to skip staff notes this month, but we'll follow up on that next time. So the last thing we're going to talk about is forecasting. So if you listeners listen to the first podcast, the first All Hands podcast last month, there was a little bet that I made with myself. I asked myself the question, will Mass Effect Andromeda on the PS4 have a higher or lower critic score than Mass Effect 3 on the PS3? Oh. And I used Metacritic as my comparison. So Mass Effect 3 on Metacritic had a 93.
Wow.
I was shocked.
Wow.
Because I don't remember too much of that game.
It's an excellent game.
It's a good game. It's just the user, the gamers had the big backlash to that game.
But this is, I don't know what it is with BioWare and the gamers, but people pick one thing. Like the ending to that game was very controversial, and people shredded it. And I don't know if there's just a huge group of people that aren't diehard Mass Effect fans that are just like it's happening with Andromeda, where they're just ripping it apart. Because everyone I know, including myself, who's a diehard Mass Effect fan, is like, this is still really good. 3 was... I still have played more of 3 than 2, and that's saying something, because I played 2 a ton. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that it's a 93.
Well, Mass Effect Andromeda only got a 74.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
I would say it wouldn't be...
Yeah. And I thought that it would get lower than a 93, because in this day and age, getting a 9 is really tough.
It's very hard, yeah.
And just looking at all the other games that had come out recently, I mean, look at this list. A lot of these games are getting 9s and 10s, and I just didn't feel that reviewers this year would put Mass Effect up that high. And that was before some of the stuff with the animation really came to light. So I did it based on everything else that was coming out.
And, we're still living in this post-Witcher 3 era right now, where Witcher 3 is so lauded as the greatest open-world experience. Which I'm not one of these. I still haven't finished Witcher 3. I think it's a great game that just didn't compel me enough. I got exhausted with it, but So that's everything. But my point being, everything's getting compared to that. Mass Effect Andromeda is getting, it's not getting compared to Zelda.
No.
Maybe it's getting compared to Horizon, but it's getting compared to Mass Effect 2, 3, and then it's also getting compared to something like The Witcher because people
Which
like
it shouldn't, because it's not really open world, right?
it is.
Is it?
Well,
Is it more like hubs?
it's
more so
instanced open world, but it is. I mean, it's a very large sandbox.
Okay.
Like there's a lot.
But when you've got Horizon, when you've got Yakuza, when
Yeah.
you've got Zelda,
Yeah, it's hard.
It's tough. So for getting that correct, I will be streaming an hour of Titan Souls on the PlayStation 4.
Ooh,
Okay.
I have
great
not played that
things.
game yet.
I heard
so
great
I'm
things
looking
about
forward
that.
to
Yeah.
it. Time and date will be announced at some point in the near future. I may just throw it up on YouTube. We'll see. But for this month's forecast and going forward, now that we have an all hands panel,
There you go.
we're going to do this a little differently. So we're going to start keeping score. We're going to do a forecast this podcast. We'll find out who wins in the next podcast. We're going to accrue points throughout the year, and at the end of the year, whoever has the most points, everybody else who participated in the podcast throughout the year is going to be required to play a video game of the winner's choice.
Okay.
And we will do a special podcast episode discussing our thoughts and impressions of the game. It doesn't have to be a new game that came out recently. It can be a game that came out 20 years ago. We need to make sure everybody has access to it. We'll figure it out.
Street Fighter 2.
Bad Cats, 89 cents on Steam.
Hey, better be careful if we're making threats. Bubsy 3D. could be on this.
Oh, stop it.
No trolling, no trolling.
Okay, so here is the question that we are all going to bet on, and I think we all have our numbers here. Nobody's seen what the other person's bet on. How many perfect scores will Persona 5 receive from the following 5 gaming journalism outlets? Easy Allies, IGN, GameSpot, Polygon, and Edge. So maximum of 5, minimum of 0.
Want me to start it off?
Go
Sure.
for it.
Might be a little controversial.
Mm.
0. Whoa.
I thought about it.
I do not think Persona 5 will get a perfect score. The only reason why is because if Zelda couldn't get a perfect score, right? But then if The Last Guardian gets a perfect score, it's just too all over the place, right? I don't think Persona 5 it might do something wrong. It might do something wrong that you might not like or any of the sort. I just don't think it'll get a perfect score. Not with the ones you mentioned anyway.
Well, I thought about going that low, especially being someone who's never played a Persona, although I have friends who rave about them, and I feel like this train has been rolling forever. The anticipation on that game has been going, and that tends to lean in the direction, like you said, of if you've been waiting for it for a long time and it's at least as good as the last one with some improvements, and the last one already got reviewed really, really well. How long has it been since Persona 4?
2008 was the original release.
Long time. All it really has to do to get perfect scores, in my opinion, is be slightly better than the last one, do a couple of clever things. I put 4.
Oh,
Whoa.
wow, that's
Because-
very opposite of me.
I was thinking about those review sites and how they review Japanese games, and I was like, one of them is definitely not gonna. And to me, it's probably GameStop, or GameSpot. GameSpot is very reticent to give out perfect scores. I think they've given 3 or 4 perfect scores ever. Even GTA 4, I think got a 9.8. They love to do the decimal rating, so they're always 9.8. But the others, I could see it. So.
Okay.
What's the rule? Are we closest without going over? How are we doing this? Or
It's just
closest?
whoever's closest. If somebody gets it on the money, they win.
Yeah.
Right.
But if the answer is right in between two guesses, then each person gets a point.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I went with 3.
Okay.
And actually, I thought I was going a little high as soon as you said 0, Onyx.
He's probably gonna win 0. I was really considering doing 0.
I'm thinking my 3 is too high now. I see IGN potentially giving it a 10. I see either Polygon or Edge giving it a perfect score. Easy Allies, I think it depends on who reviews it.
If Ben reviews
Right.
it,
If Ben reviews it, maybe a 10, but he can be
Fine.
critical too. So,
Yeah.
you know, we'll
And
see.
with those other review sites, they're going to put somebody on it who loves it. They're
Yeah.
not going to. They're never going to go, oh, who's the person who's played the least of this series
Of
or
course.
has no investment.
Yeah.
They want the guy that loves those games.
Exactly.
So, a guy or girl. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens in next month's podcast. I want to thank you both, Onyx and Matt,
Of
for
course.
coming this week, this month. I want to thank everybody out there for listening. This has been awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's been fun.
We've been going for an hour here. I hope everybody enjoyed what they've been listening to. Hope you guys had a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look forward to the next one.
And
Absolutely.
for now, it's time to get back to work.
Yeah.
Oh.
See you later.
Very good. Bye.
Bye, guys.
The Gaming Resume would like to thank Kevin MacLeod for allowing us the use of Digital Lemonade, which is the music you heard at the beginning and ending of this podcast. Kevin MacLeod can be found at incompetech.com. The use of Digital Lemonade is licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license.